Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Ryan, today we're covering one of the great, why isn't this a franchise? Why didn't we get 7 of these films ever? Devil in a Blue Dress. Very excited to talk about this one. How many times have we talked about Denzel in the last several months? It's been a lot, but what's better than that?
Is he the most talked about actor we've had on our entire run here with the show?
I think he would have to be, right? Off the top of my head.
I mean,
who him else? Or Caviezel?
Julianne Moore, maybe?
Julianne Moore, Caviezel, Denzel.
We're going to end up talking about Caviezel on the next episode.
Yeah, for the not a full review, but a
no,
mini.
just a little like, hey, just a check in,
of Caviezel.
Like a side order, right?
Yeah,
a la carte Caviezel.
Yeah.
How do you ever do a la carte at restaurants?
I mean, I will.
Yeah,
but what do you? That's only if I'm like not that hungry, though.
Yeah, when are you not that hungry when you go to a restaurant?
Well, right now I'm dieting pretty hard, so.
Wait, for what?
For weight loss.
Okay. Like, is this like a sudden thing, or like, did you go too hard on?
No, I went to like, I did my general physician thing.
Oh, you did your checkup.
And she was like, looks like you put on a little bit of weight since last year. And I said,
that's rude,
lady. Listen to me, lady. That's the last time you're ever going to. And so now I'm on a workout diet kick.
Yeah. Are you like on a calorie watch?
I'm counting calories. I'm counting macros. It's really a macro thing. I'm proteining it up hard. And I'm doing I
don't even know if any of what you're saying is real.
This is actually true. I'll show you the app. It's basically a protein shake every morning.
What's
with a workout
the flavor
in the afternoon.
What's the flavor of the protein?
I'll throw this in some. It's normally just frozen berries, skim milk, protein powder. I might throw in a Greek yogurt in there.
You're throwing a banana?
No banana.
You should. That's
generally kind of it. I mean, I like a banana, but the thing about a banana, and you notice this when you start doing macros and stuff, you're like, this isn't giving me the protein. Like a banana's all carbs. The crazy one that I've learned through this process. I don't know if you grew up thinking this or if this was just something that I was taught. I thought peanut butter was like a great source of protein. And then I put it in my little,
the little app
calculator.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is all fat. There's hardly anything else in here. It's just fat. And I was like, I've been lied to my whole life.
I think that they give that to kids. Did you think that I mean,
but I thought it was
they run it off.
Despite tasting good, I was told like it has a lot of protein in it.
Who told you that?
Liars.
Yeah. Like who? Did you grow up? Did your parents tell you?
I think my parents probably
did. They like just sit you down and be like, Jay, this is the peanut butter talk.
You trying to get swole? eat some PB.
They're trying to like bulk you up.
Yeah.
And they were like feeding you.
But really, they were Hansel and Greteling me.
Yeah. Yeah. They were just being like, dude, peanut butter.
I was getting Hansel and Gretel.
I know. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Are there things you've cut out? I'm just going to ask you these questions now. This is a good way to catch up too.
Sugar is basically gone.
Yeah. Do you miss things? Are you at the point of missing things?
Yeah. I mean, I miss bread. I don't eat that much bread. I'll splurge every now and then. Like I'm kind of working with this trainer dietitian guy online a little bit.
Oh, online.
Spending a little bit. Yeah. Doing like online meetings, and he's putting workout schedules together for me and stuff.
Do you go to the gym, or do you have like a home gym?
I got weights at home. Not anything super elaborate, but enough to get the job done. It's hard to be getting to the gym when your wife works a lot of nights and
you got to take care of the
you
kid.
have a baby.
And you got to watch Devil in a Blue Dress.
And you got to watch movies. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But hey,
I'm glad. Hey,
14 LBs down so far.
Well, there you go.
All right.
And then you know what? I'm proud of you.
And all
Yeah, man. So okay.
right.
Now that we know that Jay's going to be around here a lot longer and he's healthy, we talked about Devil in a Blue
Not
Dress.
quite 95 Denzel yet, but
No, I don't.
maybe we'll get there.
Okay. Is there anyone? Is okay. We have to talk about this now before we get into this movie and start talking about it. Denzel Washington, we have talked about this man so much. We talked about him not only on our show, we did on the main show, we did a movie star draft. You drafted him.
I got him, much to your dismay.
I'm going to say this and know that I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I was fucking angry that you got that.
I know, I could tell.
I was so angry that you got him. I was like,
it's a great pick by
I
me.
thought I'd get him a back. I thought I'd give him on the turnaround. I thought he would come back around. Jay didn't even hesitate. He didn't even take like,
and it wasn't like, even vindictive. I was just like, I think this is the correct pick.
No, it was the right pick. I felt mine was the right pick with Harrison Ford up at the top. Kind of felt like those are chalk picks, right?
No, it was the right pick.
But damn it, I should have just gone with my gut and taken Denzel at the top. Because then you probably would have taken Ford, right?
Probably, yeah.
Ford's more your guy than my guy.
I love Harry Ford.
Yeah, Denzel's more my guy.
I would say slightly. Look,
you don't get Denzel. Okay,
come on.
Denzel's my guy, and you're like a Harrison Ford.
Just give me Jack and.
No, we share Jack. That's a custody thing.
Then I think we should share Denzel.
Well, see. No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Actually, we can't share Jack. We have to consult Sophia on Jack Nicholson. That's
Sophia Coppola for her father's movie, exactly. Jack.
Yeah. Oh God. Have you seen Megalopolis yet?
No.
Okay. I need your thoughts on that.
I gotta check it out.
I need your thoughts on that movie. It's
that film.
It's it's more Jack than it is. It's more Jack era. There's a lot of bad decisions in that movie, Francis. One of the craziest Q&As I've ever been pre-screening I've ever been in.
I heard it was absolutely unhinged.
It was fine. It was kind of giving like Joe Biden in the first debate a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Great.
And then the moderator, Dennis Lin, who's the who does all the Q&As.
It was who? De Niro and
De Niro, Spike, and Coppola.
Yeah.
And Dennis Lin then asked about the politics of the movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then, of course,
De Niro, usually pretty
chill,
pretty quiet when it comes to politics. Doesn't normally talk about that kind of stuff.
He started talking about Trump, obviously, right? And then Coppola's coming back and forth and talking about like how this movie is like about, it's a Roman allegory, right? In the modern era. Like literally, it's not New York City. It's called New Rome, right?
Mm-hmm.
The setting of the film. And he's like, it's all about an emperor. And then Coppola says, and we're going to have an emperor in a couple of months. And you don't know whether he's saying it as a joke or he's saying it seriously because obviously he's mentioning Trump. And that pissed off De Niro. And then Spike's sitting over here going like, all I want to know is who's eating the cats and dogs. And it was just like, okay, no, start the movie. And in that moment, I thought to myself,
that's some boomer energy right there.
I felt embarrassed. Sitting a couple of rows up on the upper echelon of seats there at the Lincoln Square AMC IMAX was Frances McDormand and Joel Coen. And I just wondered what Frances thought about the Q&A and then the movie and certain performances. There's, it's when you start getting out of your mind and you start thinking about others,
usually not a good thing when that's what you start thinking about during a movie.
Yeah.
It's usually not a great sign.
It's not. The movie sucks. It doesn't suck. Devil in a Blue Dress. But anyway,
is this peak Denzel hotness?
That's what I was going to ask.
The question?
That's the question. I'm putting it at your doorstep. And I'm asking.
So, this is definitely right up there. Obviously, we talked about Crimson Tide. That's right there.
He's sweaty a lot in that one.
This is top. I would say probably top 3. If I'm picking one, what I'm going with?
Are you going with what?
I think I'm going Ricochet.
Ricochet.
He's a babe in that.
he's a babe, but he's
He also
also
just
like
takes his shirt off all the time for no reason.
there's the scene in Ricochet, which Ricochet, one of the wildest movies you've ever recommended to
So
me.
good. So good.
I watched that with my wife and she went, "What the hell are we watching here?" Um
It
his
is so much than you think it is. It's not just like a cop movie. It's so
no,
much more than that.
no, you think that it's going to be conventional sort of cop movie, because that's a lot of the movies that they made at the time, like, you know what I mean, to kind of get started. But I mean, there's a scene where he like is introduced to Lithgow, right? At the carnival, the shootout.
Absolutely insane.
He literally takes off all of his goddamn clothes and he's looking like a snack and a half.
Oh, absolute snack to puss.
Were you hesitant of saying
from the director of Highlander, if that gives you an idea of like how weird it is?
How, yeah, like, I mean, there's a American Gladiator style fight between the Aryan Brotherhood. Like,
Yeah,
it's
so
good. There's a like
that movie's amazing. That's a pulp classic right there.
That is one of the wildest. He made that movie after Mo Better Blues. Like,
don't you love it when I recommend just a gonzo movie to you?
That's the movie that came out before Malcolm X. Like, think about that. In between Spike movies,
I guess that was the one right before. Yeah,
it is. He's doing Mississippi Masala and Ricochet in the same year in '91.
Yeah,
I got to pull
Mississippi Masala too.
Oh, I think that's
possible. I mean, that's a good nominee.
He's hot in Much Ado About Nothing. There's this 90 to 95, 6 era of Denzel. This is when he's in his hottest, right?
I think so. I mean, he's how old around here? Like early 30s, maybe?
Think so. Yeah.
50. Yeah, like mid to late 30s.
I got to ask you this too.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk about this movie. Has Denzel Washington ever made an outright bad, terrible movie for you?
I think we've had this discussion before.
But
as we've talked about more of his movies, and look, I haven't seen every Denzel Washington.
I've been slowly going through every Denzel Washington movie this year, catching up on movies that I have never seen. Like, I watched Ricochet. I equalized. Mm-hmm. I fully equalized. You have not fully equalized, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously next week we're going to do Out of Time. We did all of his Tony Scott ones this year. So we've done that. I did Bone Collector. Have you ever seen Bone Collector with him and Angelina Jolie?
Been a very long, like to the point that I don't remember anything about it, but
where he's like basically like in a bed and she's a detective and they're
all right. So I've got crime. I've got you some. So I sorted Letterboxd by lowest rated.
Okay. So these are the lowest rated according to Letterboxd. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So
the most reliable website in the world, Letterboxd.
Lowest rated is a film called Heart Condition, which I assume you have not seen.
Heart Condition came out in 90.
It's Bob Hoskins and Denzel.
I have not seen that. Looks like a comedy.
It does kind of look like a comedy.
I have not seen it, but it sounds like it's fascinating and I want to watch it.
Second lowest, and this is a bad movie.
Are you bad? Virtuosity?
No, that movie's good.
Okay. Which one?
The Little Things.
I haven't seen The Little Things.
It's bad.
Like, are you saying it's bad as in like you're just not going to watch it, or is it like a truly atrocious, terrible movie?
I think it is an actively bad movie.
Is he bad in it?
No, he's Denzel Washington.
Has he ever been bad in a movie?
I have never seen Denzel be bad in a movie. No.
And that kind of helps the movie, doesn't it, though?
And there are a lot of movies that are not as good, that are elevated by Denzel, that are kind of average.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one.
Like like you're saying a bad movie?
No, like he's good in it. The movie's fine. But if he's not in it, it's a trash movie.
There's so many of those.
That is The Siege. Have you ever seen The Siege?
No, I've never seen The Siege.
And Annette Bening and Bruce Willis, Tony Shalhoub. So it is a movie about like he plays an FBI agent, and Annette Bening works for the CIA, and they're like going over the battle for this terrorist, right? For like the rights to be able to like arrest this guy. Anyway, um, terror kind of ramps up to an all-time high, and the president of the United States institutes martial law in the city of New York. And Bruce Willis is like this corrupt general who's essentially running all of it so that they can kill Israeli or Muslim people. And it's pre 9/11.
Sounds like a movie that would really fly today.
It's bad in its depiction and everything. It's really, really bad. But what saves it is Denzel Washington.
Denzel. I mean,
because
that's
he's
so
so
true
good
of
in
so
it.
many movies.
Yeah.
I mean, how good is Training Day if it's, a replacement level actor? I think that movie is probably not that good.
I mean, like, Training Day is very good, but it's also like that movie has a lot of problems.
The movie's really, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's not the thinker.
It hasn't aged well. It's very boilerplate in what it's in.
Yeah, that's what it is.
In
It's
everything.
kind of boilerplate. It's like the grit feels a little unconvincing, except for Denzel Washington. I'm trying to think of like who's the not as good Denzel. I mean, it's his son, I guess, but
why does John David Washington get dragged so much? Is it like the Michael Jordan Jr. thing where like he's just not his dad?
It's Bronny James.
Is it okay? It's Bronny James. Okay.
Where it feels like obviously, I mean, it's the Nepo baby thing. You get tagged with that a little bit, but also he's been in some movies that I really like. Like I love Tenet, but the whole thing about Tenet that he brings to the table is that he's sort of this anonymous audience surrogate. There's a vacancy to him as a performer that plays really well in that film that doesn't necessarily work in other movies that he's in, a la The Creator, for example.
I mean, like, you haven't seen The Piano Lesson.
No. I think he's pretty good in Black Klansman.
He is pretty good in Black Klansman. I think the problem with him, he's the worst part in The Piano Lesson when you do see it, Jay.
He looks like his dad, too.
Is that a problem? Like, I mean,
it is because it reminds you of Denzel Washington.
But he can't help it.
I know. I mean, it's not his fault. But...
It's not his fault. I'm sorry. Let's go back in the time machine and get rid of John David Washington that day. But like, no, it's not his fault that like he has to play he has to play like his dad in Fences, or he has to play the Chadwick role in Ma Rainey. Does that make sense? He has to play the loud character in the August Wilson play, while the other supporting actors around him are much more nuanced. Like Ray Fisher in that movie, who's incredible, gets to be the more subtle performance. Danielle Detweiler gets to be, more nuanced.
I mean, look, we love when Denzel goes Denzel, though.
Well, like Corey Hawkins, for example, is in that movie, and it's like, damn it. I was sitting there, I was like, I have nothing against John David Washington, but I would love to. I have so much stock in Corey Hawkins these days. I would like to see Corey Hawkins in more things. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I remember him in Macbeth.
Oh, he's awesome. I like Corey Hawkins a lot. I mean, he's great in Straight Outta Compton.
He's great. He's Dr. Dre.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you. This just came to me right now, like a bolt of lightning.
We should talk about Devil in Blue Dress.
We should. It's a very good film.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about it. But it's interesting how Denzel has kind of changed. His persona has changed over time. I just watched Scent of a Woman.
Oh, are we doing this?
Well, the thing about,
are we doing Hua?
Pacino and Denzel have had a little bit of a similar arc where Pacino got huge and we kind of rejected him when he went huge. But when Denzel started going bigger, I think
people loved that he went huge. Like, people love Scarface and they love Devil's Advocate. They love Heat. Like, those are big performances.
They like them kind of ironically. Like
They're like
Devil's
on
Advocate is sort of like a, oh, okay, man,
they,
what are you
I mean,
doing?
they loved Scent of a Woman so much, and he's big in that movie.
Son of a Woman is a joke at this point.
Yeah, but he's
I'm
it's
saying
a
at the time, but
oh,
I'm saying now,
yeah, at the
like,
time they
yeah, but
loved it though.
Denzel, we still love big Denzel.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like that's
But
isn't
the
that
thing
what
is,
he's
he can also get a lot of nuance in addition to that
it's what he's serving in the Gladiator
big
2 trailer.
performance. Yeah, think about Training Day. Good grief! I mean, that is the biggest performance ever.
Really is. I mean, he's
He
just
got
like
game,
he got game is another one. I
but also he's
mean,
doing a lot of subtle stuff in that movie too. Denzel's
yeah.
just the best.
No, I mean, that's the thing is that I think he knows how to
Is a
thread the
balance.
he does. And also he stepped behind the camera.
When he went blind, he went subtle. Book of Eli.
Oh, for God's sakes, that's right.
That's his Son of a Woman.
That's, actually, have you watched Book of Eli?
No, it's been a
Lately?
while. I remember being like, kind of interesting.
It's not a bad movie. It's
Yeah.
actually really interesting. Hughes brothers, really, really interesting directors.
Yeah.
But I yeah, I think that just Denzel was a one, and I hate to say this, and I love Pacino a lot, but Denzel's just a better actor. Like sometimes it's okay to say it.
Certainly in the
He's able to
latter
control
half of his career.
He's able overall.
But 70s Pacino, it's the cream
Yeah,
of
but
the
like
crop.
it is cream of the crop. But I would argue that in Denzel's totality of his career, he has
Well, he never did a Jack and Jill or a,
no.
I mean,
He's
Pacino totally went paycheck
Yeah,
sellout
because
at the
he
end, which Denzel will never do.
I mean, I saw the quote the other day of like, why did he do the Dunkachino thing in Jack and Jill? And it goes, I needed money. And it's like, because he's got 900 kids. You know what I mean? He had just had a newborn.
Just had another one.
Yeah, and him and De Niro, like, they can't stop competing, these two. But like, no, I think that it's the thing of Denzel. He's a lot like Pacino and coming from the stage and everything. But yes, when Denzel goes big, though, there's very rare actors and very rare black actors that go big and are able to go as big as he does, have the screen presence that he has. I mean, in this era, and then even beyond, like there aren't a lot of 60-year-old African-American action movie stars happening. And yet he's making movies, like he's making Equalizer movies and Magnificent Seven and all these different things with Fuqua. He had all the stuff with Tony that we talked about. But then he also in between here, he's the guy that's worked with Spike Lee, and he's made these smaller, interesting films in between. And he also has movies that never hit. And we'll talk about those, throughout, his career. That
maybe a movie that we'll talk about today.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, like Devil in a Blue Dress is a movie that on paper, like this should have been a franchise for him. Like this, you mentioned it right at the top. It is based off of
The
Walter
Nice Guys
Mosley's.
of its day.
Yeah, it's like Walter Mosley's series of like 9 to 10 books about
should have been
Rawlins.
His Philip Marlowe.
Yeah, it easily should have. And you know what audience said? No, thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd.
We don't want this.
But he's not going big in this, I wouldn't say.
No, I think also too, like
I'll tell you who's going big.
Don Cheadle.
Cheadle.
Oh my God, Cheadle's so good in this movie.
He's rocking the house.
But even still, like, okay, at this time in his career, 1990, Denzel Washington, right? If you want to look at it, Jay, just on paper. Okay.
So we're just going through his 90s.
No, I just want to look at like this specifically because like, this comes out in 95. Right. Mm-hmm. So he's already had an Oscar. He's had Malcolm X. He's had Much Ado About Nothing, Philadelphia, and The Pelican Brief. His 93 is a crazy run. Right. And Devil in the Blue Dress.
And Crimson Tide, don't forget.
Well, Devil in the Blue Dress comes out in September, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and Crimson Tide comes out in May. So that was the big.
It's a big year.
I mean, it was a 3-time multiplier at the time. Like we talked about this, that was $158 million
Crimson
on a
Tide
50,
was a big old honking movie.
yeah, that was, and it was a $53 million budget, so it made 3 times its money. That's pretty good for a movie like that. And it's him and Hackman, and it's a big movie. It's from the director of Top Gun, for Christ's sake, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this movie
Revenge
and Rivet, yeah, because everybody was like Revenge.
That was in the trailer from the director
of
Revenge.
What or The Hunger, right? That's actually probably more niche than
Yes,
the Revenge. And then he had Virtuosity that came out in the same year, which Virtuosity came out in August and was another. That movie was 30 million on a 30 and 37 at the box office, and that movie was a dud.
Kind of fun though.
Kind of fun. Well, yes, but at the time considered
absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, shit doesn't really work, but yet
Crow's going big in that one.
I would say like
My
that's that's his dad's that's dad's version of Tenet, right? And
I think that's giving it a little too much credit. I mean, Russell Crowe plays an app basically.
He does. I mean, like it rules. More like dad's transcendence than anything else. Anyway,
that's probably closer.
That's better. I don't know why this movie didn't make money and people didn't go see it. It's also
the
very
Carl Franklin conundrum.
It's the very
never made money.
I don't know how you market it either. Like noirs at the time, like what were the big noirs at this moment that were it was mostly indie films, right? That we talked about it like the Fargo run and things of that nature, and just there's sometimes also too you see these movies come out and people just 22 million is what enough that it can get at the moment. And then
I mean, what do people want now? It's like, doesn't 7 come out in 95?
Yeah. So
that kind of feels like more of the energy that is sort of taking over your basic instincts, your 7's darker,
sexier, broader sort of films.
Yeah. That's kind of the energy that I feel like was kind of taken over the time. Movie, not this classic throwback noir.
And also too, when you really watch it, there's not like a giant, huge, like the story feels very contained, right?
Yes.
And so, and outside of Washington, there aren't a lot of big stars. Like, a giant ensemble here along. I mean, like there's good character actors and you and I know. I'm just talking about from 1995, people that they're going to see the film. This is a test of mostly where he's at as a movie star.
Well, even by today's standards, that these aren't.
No. I mean,
Cheadle, you look at it now, there's like guys I like in it, but there's no, it's not like Crimson Tide where it's like the roster is 12 deep.
No, but this is like a breakthrough for Cheadle. You know what I mean? Like he is
for sure.
He's not, a couple of years later, 2 years later, he's in Boogie Nights, and 3 years later, he's in Out of Sight. And then he's in Ocean's 11 in 2001. So just in a 6-year turnaround, he's a household name. About 10 years later from this, he's an Oscar nominee, but still and he shows up in here and he's a revelation to most people. And he kind of undercuts Denzel, who's the star of the film, because he's the one that everybody's talking about when you talk about this film.
From this, yeah,
he does, and he's playing, like Denzel's playing straight man in a lot of this, and Cheadle gets to be the bolt to lightning, and they're both wonderful opposite each other. We should have 10 films where Don Cheadle and Denzel Washington are opposite each other because they are absolutely perfect. Just like we should have Sam Jackson and Denzel Washington movies together, because when they're in Spike movies together, they're fantastic. And they're like, and when you see them in life, they're all friends. And it's like, well, why the hell don't you people work together? Because you guys, when you make things, you make movie magic. And now they're all stars, Oscar winners and recipients and box office kings and things of that nature.
Cheadle's directing.
Cheadle, is he directing?
Yeah, he did Miles Ahead.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right. I forgot about Miles Ahead. How long have you been saving that one?
I don't know. He directed that movie.
Have you
He's
seen
apparently
it?
got another. Is this a show called The Big Cigar? Is that a what is that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
For Andre Holland, Alessandro Nivola?
I feel like Navola's
I
just
guess
like
it's
in
a TV show.
Navola feels like he's in everything nowadays.
He's getting work.
He's in The Brutalist. He's in The
Oh,
Girl
he
Next
is?
Door this
I didn't
year.
know that.
Yeah. You didn't
Wow.
know that? He's in one
No,
of the stills. He's like the one holding Brody up in the by the collar and in
sounds
the
brutal.
yeah. Yes, list.
I don't know.
But
He directed Miles Ahead.
but there's no movie in between One False Move
No,
and Devil in the Blue Dress.
banger to banger.
Banger to banger. Jay, did you find any research or anything as to the process for Franklin making this thing? And I mean, buddy, let's just talk about it. What are your thoughts then on Devil in the Blue Dress if you didn't find anything?
I mean, yeah. As with a lot of this Carl Franklin stuff, there's not a ton to really work with. Franklin
Well,
wanted to do a detective story, I think, from what I can see, and that's kind of it. And then the only kind of lore as far as the production is concerned is that apparently they cut a pretty sexy scene between Jennifer Beals and Denzel. But other than that,
well, this is the ongoing controversy about Denzel Washington is that he doesn't want
Denzel,
to.
Julia, yeah.
Early on in his career, he was very keen on not having sex scenes in movies, right? He doesn't want to have sex
He's a
scenes
little
because of his wife.
protective of that. And then also there's the question of was the studio kind of like Julia, Denzel, I don't know,
Yeah. Oh,
some,
because like of the racial component
yeah,
of the Pelican Brief. Well, I still want to see it because like that whole
I,
movie, that
sounds
movie,
good.
they should put it in
Well, later
like
Carl
Denzel.
Franklin will have a sex scene with Denzel. So
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that next
yeah,
week. Yeah, it's the mechanics of how that is framed is fascinating. But yeah, it. I mean, he's taking this mostly popular, I guess, series of books and giving Denzel Washington a franchise or a starter
in theory.
franchise in theory, a character to be able to make his own, which is kind of perfect, right? It's what do a lot of directors do nowadays, Jay? They take the success of their indie project and they make a little bit bigger movie and they attach a star to it and try to make something original or something audiences haven't seen. And that's kind of weirdly what a lot of people do now, but what Franklin was doing here. So, Jay, um, Devil in a Blue Dress, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I just don't think this was the time to be making a 1940s homage to kind of classical noirs. But I think this
When is the
movie,
time, Jay?
I don't know.
I don't think there ever is the time, right?
Trying to think of how was there kind of a resurgence at any point? I don't really think so.
Does this feel like a
I think
television?
traditional noirs might be kind of done.
Does this feel like a television series now
Maybe
idea?
TV.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
I see they keep casting that Man on Fire series, and when I was thinking about this today, I was like, this is coming around the corner instantly. We're gonna get an Easy Rawlins series, and
I mean,
someone's gonna play him. Like Sterling K. Brown's gonna take 7 seasons of that, right?
it doesn't sound terrible.
On HBO.
Doesn't sound terrible.
Sounds pretty good. You know what I mean?
What they
But
call it? Easy.
well, they kind of did do that though with the Perry Mason series that they canceled after two
Right,
seasons.
right.
So
Yeah, and that wasn't a massive hit by any stretch. Although apparently it's great. I haven't
it
seen it,
is.
but
It is. I watched the first season. It's fantastic. We were about we were about halfway through the second season, and it was really good. And then they canceled it, and then me and Megan were like, "Well, what's the point? I'm not going to keep watching a show that's you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
if you cancel a show, I'm not going to keep watching it. I'm not going to finish it because it's going to probably leave me on a cliffhanger or some shit like that. So, anyway, your thoughts on the film? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this film. I think is the second time I've watched it. I watched it for the first time a few years ago. It does have such a classical sensibility that I'm really attracted to. I think a lot of that comes from the cinematography from the great Tak Fujimoto, who I think most people would probably know as Jonathan Demme's guy, and also early Shyamalan used Fujimoto a lot. He just has such a wonderful eye, and has done such incredible work, and he does the same here. Obviously, Denzel, like we said, looking positively handsome, and then some. And he also brings, again, that classic kind of noir hero, anti-hero, don't really understand what his motivations are. He loves his house. Let me tell you, this guy just wants to keep his house. Um, and you totally understand his motivation, not just for keeping the house, but he also feels like, I've kind of been wronged. There are systems surrounding me that have slighted me. And because of that, I'm just kind of gonna go into business for myself. And at first, he has no real emotional attachment to this new job as sort of a quasi PI that he has been given by his bar buddy. But he does have this bleeding heart that gets him emotionally involved in everything that's going on in the story. And I think that's where the power of Denzel's performance really comes into play, especially as you continue to be introduced to more and more chaotic elements of the film. The other kind of main characters here are extremely chaotic. Tom Sizemore is a maniac in this. Don Cheadle is twice as big a maniac as Tom Sizemore in it. Um, Jennifer Beals, I think, is a solid, if not incredible, femme fatale in this film, kind of the surrogate for that classic 40s, 50s noir dame kind of energy. It's a honestly a pretty straightforward film to understand. It's not super convoluted like a lot of noirs can be. And at the end of the day, I just think it's really satisfying, and it really does set up a sequel almost in the exact same way that, I'll bring it up again, The Nice Guys sets up a sequel where it's like, here we go, starting a business. That means we can have more cases. That means we can have more stories. And you're watching it and you're like, oh, hell yeah, let's put the sequel on. And then there never was one, which is just a real shame. Denzel, just this, he's never really gone to, I guess, Equalizer is his franchise movie or franchise that he's kind of gotten attached to over the years, but it feels like this was really the one that could have become iconic, and it unfortunately just didn't hit at the box office, and we never got another one. But by itself, this is a really, really good movie. It's such an easy watch. I think it has a lot to say, and it's invigorating. It's a really good film.
Jay, do you think that potentially because this movie has been reevaluated over the years, that if Denzel wanted to play like a older version
Old easy.
of Old Easy, kind of like how Jack made the sequel to Chinatown, you know what I mean? Like he could get away with that. Like somebody would want to do that.
I'm sure he could get it made for 30 million, except those movies just don't really exist anymore.
No, they don't. Like it's so difficult. I know. I'm just curious. You know what I mean? Because it's such a rich world
It is.
that Franklin builds here from the get go, right? You see this, you see Easy, who's this guy that doesn't have a job, but yet he has housing, and
Well, he gets fired.
yeah, he gets fired. You know what I mean? He's just trying to survive, and it's this, it's different than like, I think the comparison to like a for like a franchise, when we talked about Last Boy Scout, or when we've talked about in the past with reference to like The Nice Guys and things of that nature. Basically, anything Shane Black ever makes
Yeah,
outside
pretty
of
much all of Shane
Lethal
Black's
Weapon,
failed franchises.
except Lethal Weapon. You know what I mean? And then they kicked him out of there after the first one. This project is so rich to explore things within it, and the movie does a great job of exploring, I think, racial dynamics at this time, this neighborhood. There's, I think, a purpose why we spend so much of the time coming back here to this place, and that this violence in this sort of utopic neighborhood for these black families is always coming from others that don't look like them from the outside, or people that are controlled by others that are from the outside of this neighborhood. The final 2 minutes of this movie, Jay, when everything is resolved, is fascinating to me. Just like that's how a movie ends, where they're talking about like, well, we just sat on the porch and we drank all day. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna pretend, and he's like
After
winking at
this
the audience.
traumatic experience.
Yeah, and I drank myself to death so that I don't have to remember any of it. But then he wants to become a private detective in spite of all of it. But still, after everything's been cleared and all the dust has been settled, those two cops are still coming by his house, those two detectives. And Denzel, I mean, there's no better screen presence, I think, in the world than Denzel Washington. There's just not. He just is able, his walk is his look, the way his chest is out, the way he's mostly in a white beater this entire time, in
Mhm.
these pants and suspenders. That's for the most part his wardrobe
He's
in
wearing
this
some
movie.
suits.
He's got a couple of suits, but really when his comfortable leisure is that, or when he's at the bar early in the film in the first opening shots. And I don't know. You're right. This movie doesn't, there's no real gotchaness to this. It's very workman in terms of a noir. And I think that that's kind of great because we're going to talk about some of the other Franklin noir mystery modern films that he starts tackling towards the later part of his career next week. And I do think some of those, for better and worst, start becoming almost parodies of other things, and also start losing focus of the central plot.
They lose a vision.
Yeah, they
They
lose a
start to feel a
vision.
little more
Workman.
generic.
Yeah, a little workman, like a little bit like,
Hmm.
gun for hire, right? Very much like you can start, sadly, after this movie, see a man that becomes the guy we now know that's making a ton of television episodes,
Yeah.
because these movies that he makes do not get made anymore. And what does
Well, and
get,
they didn't make any money.
and they didn't make any money. So what then happens? You become a reliable hand in television. In television shows, they make those right now like a dime a dozen, and they're so hard to keep up, but it keeps people employed and it
Hmm.
keeps people relevant. And again, I don't want to reiterate this, but it is sad that most of his career now is just doing episodes of whatever Ryan Murphy television show is coming out, rather than having a vision to be able to, get $5 or $10 million or even 20 million to be able to potentially make one last film. Because I do think he has something to say in these early films. And I think there is a lot of racial dynamics in this movie that's absolutely fascinating,
Oh
and
yeah.
hits him at the forefront of this because he's writing and adapting this. I think the boardwalk sequence in the middle of the film, I think the twist of it all is the fact that they're, um Jennifer Beals' character is part of an intersex or interracial family, sorry.
Hmm.
And that is and at that time period in 1948, that's a big no-no, and how it ties in politically and how it ties
There's a little bit of
into,
that passing thing
yes,
where
exactly. Yeah.
the real drama of the story is that the family, her fiance, who is running for mayor, doesn't want it to get out that she is of mixed race.
Yes.
That's the central conflict of the story.
Yeah.
That is only revealed two-thirds into the film.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say two-thirds. It's like
Might be
we're
three
like
quarters. Yeah,
we're like
something.
80% of the way done with this movie. It's revealed in like,
Something. Yeah.
it's really
Where
quick. Like, yeah.
why are we
Um,
trying to find her? Why are we trying to find her? Why are we trying to find her? Oh, she doesn't want it to be revealed that she's mixed race. She is now going to try to blackmail the other candidate with these pictures of him with naked children. And so then it just becomes this like immoral mess where it's like, oh, I'll hide the pictures of the naked children if you don't tell anybody that I
Yeah,
am.
it's about everybody. It's where everybody kind of wants to be where Denzel's at the end of the film. A sense of peace through disgusting actions or immoral actions, like, in terms of the eyes of the other characters. Because that candidate sees this opportunity to blackmail his opponent and ruin their lives through his insensitivities and his thoughts on racial politics. But then, of course, they have the blackmail that's on him about what is a even worse sin and a worse scandal that could. And so it also is like just pointing out the fact that nobody's good on either side of this thing. And that,
No,
by the end, it's like, I don't feel good. She doesn't feel good about any of this. She's just
no,
like,
because her whole goal was to convince the family to let her
let her,
get Mary into the
yeah,
family by doing this enormous favor for them, which would
yeah.
basically ensure that he becomes mayor. And they still are like, I mean, we can't have that.
It's still not good enough.
No.
Yeah. And so that shot of it from in the car and her walking up the stairs into her house after all this is done,
It's
where
great.
everybody's been chasing her.
It's one of the most memorable shots of the movie for sure.
It's as devastating as the ending in One False Move, because you're just sitting
I
there
don't
and
know if it's quite that devastating,
I
but
think
yeah,
it is, because it's like, just, I mean, look at it from her standpoint and tell me it's not devastating. It's it's the fact that she's now going to go in there. It's like the whole movie we've been chasing after her, trying to find her, going through this labyrinth a little bit through Easy, and he's making deals here and he's shaking off the cops here and shaking off the gangsters left and right, and he's calling in, he's calling in Cheadle to help him out and all this different stuff. And then by the end, when everything's settled, he's washed his hands clean of it. He has to drink himself to death in order to then be able to semi want to get back into this field, even though he's found his niche. And then you have, you know, you have Beals, who's just kind of just like, I might as well just go in this house. And if anyone wants to find me, I'm going to just be here. This is it. I'm done.
well, then she
She's, it's
leaves.
so
I mean, she
depleted.
completely
Yeah.
resets.
And then she's just like, I can't do this anymore.
She goes home.
It's
Texas, Houston, I believe.
Houston. Yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely
She
debilitating.
gets paid to leave town, right? Isn't that what they do?
Yeah,
They,
but she doesn't want to take the money. You know what I mean? Like she wants
yeah.
to, and it's
Oh,
this.
that's right. No, she got paid before to leave, and she was like, "No, no,
No, no,
no,
no, no.
I'm coming
I'm
back,
coming
and
back,
I'm gonna win you
and that's
over."
and
Yes,
and I got this stuff for you, and it's the act of defiance, and still it's like, yeah, it's completely devastating, and I just think it's a beautiful performance from her, and limited screen time, and yeah, I think Sizemore is
an
Sizemore's really
absolute maniac,
is an absolute maniac in this movie. Like when they're like eating in Denzel's house, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like
very
about
nefarious.
very nefarious. The board, again, I bring up the boardwalk sequence with like the young kids or whatever. Just it again too. You see about, and this is the first book in the series too, by the way. So,
Yeah,
which is great. And you see like Easy, just, I need a job, something easy, literally just something simple to pay the bills. And it's like, well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess, but also, trusting this bartender who's serving you while you're looking at the paper. And slowly he goes down this rabbit hole. And, we've seen Denzel in so many films be this strong, pretty powerful character, this force of nature. And you watch a movie like this, or like you mentioned Ricochet too, for the most part in that movie, he's pretty vulnerable as a protagonist throughout this movie, as Easy, because in he that's why he brings in, you know Cheadle to kind of help him. He needs muscle, he needs help, he can't do this alone. And I think that there's once they're together, this is really great pair, right? This because he really, like, Easy is a really good thinker, and obviously going to be, if you read the books or you just know anything potentially about like how stories like these go, he's going to be a great detective, right? He's going to be a great private eye,
Hmm.
and his muscle is going to be Cheadle throughout this whole thing. And they got this great chemistry. And I just love from the moment he gets there, he's like causing trouble. And Cheadle's just like a bolt of energy from the beginning of this movie,
Just
or
shooting
just
people.
from, and he comes at about the halfway point. He's just shooting people. And he's just like, I don't want to mess this up for you, Easy. I don't want to mess this up for you. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do whatever you say. I'll behave. I promise. And like, there's this affection still for each other because they know that obviously there's money attached to it as well too. And that's the other interesting thing about this movie too, is that every character has a little bit of disparity inside of every single action that they do. It's not just about what is right. It also is about every cent that is attached to what is right too. And Franklin knows that. And it's this fine line of that, while some people, yes, may be your villains, and more so than others, and others may be your protagonists more so than others. They all have codes, and all those codes usually stem from the almighty dollar, a little bit attached
Yeah.
to it. So,
No, for sure.
um, and that's what makes great noirs the way they are too. So, I think it's a fantastic film. It's an M word. It's an M word, Jay.
Really? I don't think
Yeah,
it's that.
I think so. I've watched this twice this year, and I like it because it isn't trying to be bigger than what it is. And I think Franklin, for me, as I was watching it the second go round, preparing for this, I'm just like, man, there's just small details here that you don't catch on the first go round. He's really built a world, and you could see a vision, and you could see the want of someone and the elevation of a director from the first film to this, or not their first film, but like really their first film they got to make money. And like he got the funds and the materials and everything to really make something, was One False Move. The elevation here, uh, you know, just
Oh yeah, it's a level up.
it's such a
More resources. I actually think I like
fascinating
One
element.
False Move more.
I think as a story I like it more, but I think as
It doesn't have Denzel on it.
an overall, well, it doesn't have Denzel. It has it's got Paxton in it. What are you
It's
talking
got
about?
plenty of people in it.
But also I just think that again, we've seen this version of this world built before, and yet for some reason it just feels so wholly original. And maybe it also is. Maybe I elevated it a little bit too, because I don't think we see a lot of black directors being able to create something in this space that's mostly been inhabited by white protagonists and white actors and white
Oh, it is
directors
very
for so many
unique for
years.
that. Yeah.
It's so unique from that vision, from
You
that
also love a
standpoint.
good noir.
You just gotta love a good noir. I mean, he's making that with One False Move, Jay, but I don't know. This is more traditional, and I think both are great. Like I don't think that, I mean, I'm I love them both. And the 4K restoration for this, I don't know if you have the 4K for
I
this one.
do. Yeah. It's
It's
great.
it's pretty
Again,
beautiful.
Fujimoto is I mean, he was putting in the dang work
Yes, he
for a
was.
very, very long time. I mean, he kind of stopped working, which was interesting.
What was
But
he doing? What was he doing at this time? So he did Silence of the Lambs, Jay.
he did. He was
He was
like,
Demi's guy. He was working on Philadelphia, where he worked with Denzel there. He did That Thing You Do. He
I
did
mean,
the
I think of
Sixth
him
Sense,
as Demi's
Signs.
guy. That's what I think of him
Yeah.
as first and foremost. But yeah, then he moved on to Shyamalan as well for a little
Ha-
while.
he did The Happening.
He sure did, as well as let's give him a little credit for the Sixth Sense and Signs as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
Let's put those maybe first there.
His work in Manchurian Candidate too is really fascinating
I think that
stuff
movie's
there.
pretty good.
That
Again,
movie's
Denzel.
no, that movie is pretty good. Like it's hard to remake a classic like that, but Demi does a great job at doing that too. He
Hmm.
also worked on Badlands, right? He did. Oh no, he did. Yeah, he was part of the team on Badlands, if I'm not mistaken. Or he did some work on that at least. But yeah, his filmography is absolutely just fascinating. And yeah, he is
No,
Demi's guy through and
he's
through. I
great.
mean, Melvin and Howard, one of your favorites.
Love
Um,
Melvin and Howard. I
Something
mean,
Wild too.
Philadelphia, I think, is a great looking movie. That thing you
Yeah.
do squeezed in the middle there.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is some good stuff in here. Just now I'm just going down the list of all of his movies.
No, I mean
Yeah.
he's awesome. I mean he really is
Yeah.
one of the best of his era, and he's still alive, still kicking, but not working. He's 85, so you're
He did
definitely
the
allowed to be retired at this point.
he did the
But his
John
last movie
Adam.
was in
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah. He also did the John Adams series on what do you call it? On HBO with Giamatti. You know what I'm talking about?
Tommy Hooper.
Yeah, with Tommy Hooper. He did 4 episodes of that series. So he did
Yeah,
half of that series. Yeah.
interesting.
Good for him. What an interesting fella. For sure.
Wait, Jonathan Demme directed the pilot for the Patrick Wilson show, A Gifted Man.
Do you not know this?
No. Did you know that?
Yeah. I know way too much about Demi. Demi would
I'm
be
shocked.
Demi would be a great series to do. Talk about an influential filmmaker.
You ever seen A Master Builder?
Oh, is that the one
Wallace
with Wall
Shawn?
Shawn?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen
so
that.
bad.
It's so bad. Like, I
I
like,
loved him.
the
Like
way
I
that you
love
brought it
Demi
up, I
so
was like,
much.
damn it, of course. I gotta bring it up.
I love Demi, but yeah,
Yeah, but
that's a tough one.
most directors that we love have a stinker in there.
They might have a stinker in there
Yeah.
for sure. He doesn't have a perfect filmography by any stretch, but
It's very rare that you have a perfect filmography, right?
yeah, for sure. And he made,
Yeah.
I mean, he made stuff at a pretty consistent clip. So
Yeah.
especially if you do that, you might have a miss every now and then. Although he's got a pretty darn good filmography. Oh, The Truth About Charlie, that one's tough.
Yeah, is that the one with
Mackie
Wahlberg?
Mack.
With Mackie
Mhm.
Mack? Yeah. Yeah. I wish Demi was still alive. He could have done one more with Denzel. That's the other thing too. It's just, all the collaborators that could work with Denzel still. And, Franklin got him to do this one, and then they did, Out of Time a couple years later. And I don't know. Like I feel like
Yeah, well,
you're
Carl Franklin hasn't made that many movies. He kind of
but it is interesting, Jake, because I think like with the two Denzel ones we're going to talk about Out of Time next week, obviously, but it feels like he's kind of with Denzel. He gets Denzel. Like he understands what to do with Denzel. I think he was trying to find something long lasting with Denzel too. Like this is weirdly enough, when I was also watching this is my anecdote for the Franklin Denzel connection. This is what happens when the movies aren't successful. The collaborations don't get to continue. Because we saw with Tony, hear me out.
yeah.
So we saw with Tony that they got, now you get one person where you get to ride or die with them the rest of your life. Doesn't matter if the movies make money or not. And that is Spike. Spike is that guy. For him, they're best friends. They made a couple, made like 4 or 5 movies. Doesn't matter if they made money at the box office. Their next one and that they're doing High and Low, the remake is going to be with Apple, so it's not even going to make anything at the box office. So it doesn't matter anymore. You get one of those for your guys for a person like Denzel. The next couple people you start working with, as much as it is about the creative process, for directors to work with Denzel Washington, like you kind of need to have a hit in there. And Tony Scott can at least say, I had a Crimson Tide. I had a this, I had a that in there.
To an extent, that's true.
To justify that, Antoine Fuqua can say, I had Training Day with him. Then we can do this one over here and do that one over there.
Yeah, but his movies made money.
Yeah, that's the point. The point is that the reason why I think Carl Franklin, he's working with the right person here.
Yeah.
It's just that the movie doesn't make any money. And that's also part of the equation as to why a director like this doesn't get to have a richer, longer filmography, is because of the fact that it just didn't hit. And it's a sad casualty, because if you look at a lot of actors' filmographies, I'm sure they would have loved to continue to work, or maybe they did work with multiple directors. And some of those films, they worked, and audiences went and saw it and they had a great experience, because obviously Denzel wouldn't work with someone twice if he had a terrible experience. But both the films that he made with Carl Franklin, they didn't make any damn money. And they were also not, I mean, one was critically well received and the other was very mixed. So there is that too. So if you're a studio.
And at the time, this wasn't like, an awards play or anything. People were like, oh, hey, that was pretty good.
But what do you do with
a genre that people didn't really care about at the time?
In 1995, in 1995, what do you do with Devil in the Blue Dress? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do with a movie like
talking about what else was made like this at the time?
Yeah, it's weirdly ahead of its time, but it's also weirdly past its prime.
Back,
you know what I mean?
And it's really looking back stylistically.
Because One False Move is like
thematically, it's kind of contemporary.
If you made this contemporary, right? Like a movie like Deep Cover, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Well, that movie rules.
That movie rules. Okay. I'm not saying this movie doesn't rule, but like that's set in contemporary time. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Just update the time period. Maybe audiences go and seeing it. But I don't think a lot of people wanted to go backwards at this point. But there is a lot of interesting things to talk about in the lens of a Black protagonist in a mostly Black racial story in the late 40s, early 50s noir that, again, is mostly dominated by white protagonists. And I just don't think in 1995 people were willing to go and take the ride here. And that is sad. I don't know if necessarily again, I think television would take this ride and we'd have maybe a week-to-week discussion on, coming up on HBO's Easy this season. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
whatever the case may be, Yeah,
I'm just looking at the highest grossing movies of 1995.
All right, let's go through them.
Well, there's just nothing like it anywhere near the top.
What's the top 20? Give me the top. Just rattle off the top.
I don't think we need to run through all 20, but I'll give you.
All right,
I'll give you 10. I'll give you 10.
50. All right.
We'll run through the top 75.
Okay.
I mean, number 1, Batman Forever, Apollo 13, Toy Story, Pocahontas, Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. Those are the top 5. So nothing even remotely like this.
Batman Returns?
5. Forever.
Batman Forever?
Yeah.
You mean the one with the Seal song?
Number 6, believe it or not, Casper. I didn't know that was that big of a hit.
It's actually a good double bill with Devil in the Blue Dress, Casper.
Very much so. Die Hard with a Vengeance, Crimson Tide, GoldenEye, Waterworld.
Now,
those are the top 10.
Now, Die Hard with a Vengeance is an interesting film. I'm not saying that it's
in relation to this.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Because Sam Jackson, there is a big racial component attached to that film.
There is, but that movie has a sense of irony to
and
it.
Exactly.
Very 90s.
And it's also part of a franchise.
Yeah.
And it is very 90s and it's contemporary and everything, but that's what makes that movie stand out as opposed to like Die Hard 2, which is that it does get to be a little edgier, but it has goodwill from an audience standpoint. And it's coming off the fact that Sam Jackson's playing that character post Pulp Fiction, so it's riding high, you know what I mean, at that point, and that makes sense. For a movie like this, it's like, we know for a fact, Jay, on paper, people did not go see One False Move. So there is that. And it's just like, even with a recognizable name, would you say Denzel is a star by this point? By 1995, is he a star? A movie star? Is he he's a leading man? That's no for sure. But is he?
So when does he become a movie star then?
That's the question I think we have to ask, right? Because does Crimson Tide make him a movie star? Does winning the Oscar?
I think Denzel is a movie star.
Yeah, already. Okay,
I think so. Let me just.
Is he a box office draw at this point?
I think there's probably anecdotal evidence of that. Let's take a look at Denzel's box office haul here.
I just want, it's a good question because a movie like this is wonderful. And it's fascinating to talk about what the movie is saying and how it even exists. Like this movie, weirdly, Jay shouldn't exist. I don't know how he got $22 million to make this in 1995 because he's not getting it now. And he definitely wouldn't have got it before. So it's weird that it is. I mean, obviously, it's a bigger check post a very successful indie film, right? Critical darling. But like, damn, I was watching, I was like, this is kind of a anomaly, weird movie that in terms of existence, not in terms of what it's doing or saying on screen. But I don't know. That's where I was thinking about just like, man, when you look at the year and you look at the movies being
He
made
is
by studios.
absolutely a movie star at this point.
Okay, so yeah, I mean 93 I would
Pelican
say.
Brief.
Yeah. Pelican Brief is already broken.
Malcolm X really put him on the map
Yeah.
as far as critical acclaim is concerned, which I think, made him a big deal. All of his older movies, obviously, he won the Oscar for Glory.
Yeah.
I think being in a Spike Lee movie added a little bit of, two Spike Lee movies since then, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then Crimson Tide was earlier this year, and I think that helped him as well.
I think that 93
he's a movie star.
I think that 93 run solidifies it, right? Because like he's in
Yes,
Philadelphia, he's
I
leading
agree.
Pelican Brief. I mean, he's co-headlining a lot of those films that are very successful.
Yeah, he's probably, second build on Pelican Brief, Philadelphia, and Crimson Tide, I would assume.
And top build on, or second or third build on Much Ado, probably behind.
Yeah, and
Thompson
then obviously
and
Malcolm X. Yeah. I mean, Malcolm X was a big deal.
Yeah, it made 73 on a $35 million budget, but it was also like talked about as like the performance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
In 1992. Yeah. So no,
he's a movie star for sure. He's a draw.
He's a draw.
You can get a movie made.
But I mean, obviously you can get $22 million because of Denzel Washington to create this world.
Yeah.
But a draw for this kind of film, not yet. Like if he's maybe 10 years older, maybe this makes a little bit more money. That's what I think.
I think the comparison to this movie is very obviously LA Confidential.
Yeah.
But again, that is made with a little more of a bite to it. I think this is a very sincere movie. There's certainly a level of cynicism to it, but it is made with a great deal of sincerity and honesty, and it doesn't have much humor to it. It's played generally pretty straight. And again, during the 90s, that was not the most in vogue thing in the world. You look at, again, if I can find my way back to those movies of 95, Apollo 13, I guess, is sort of that very sincere film. But then things like Batman Forever, Ace Ventura, Crimson Tide is played pretty straight, I guess, but it's also, I don't know. But you go down the list and you get, you get to some more 90s cynical postmodern type of stuff, which this movie very much is not.
This movie is that in between being something really small and being where commercial stuff is still just driving the bus at this point. And I just don't think audiences knew what the hell to do with it. And that's cool because then that means that this movie kind of slowly builds a reputation up to what it is now, which is this, noir, kind of forgotten masterpiece in his filmography. In Denzel's filmography, you get to explore Franklin. This is the perfect film ultimately for a Criterion release or a save in that
to canonize it,
to finally like be able to own that this is not lost. And the fact that people were talking about this from the standpoint of this, not just obviously it was critically acclaimed and obviously Franklin telling a lot of truth about the Black experience through this time period in American history and through this genre that is
Mhm.
such a staple within American cinema, but also having this movie star who is, I mean, one of the brightest spots in the, in Hollywood at the time, and then this new actor that comes into the fold who is, I mean, Jay, Don Cheadle. Where is Don Cheadle now?
Well, he did that TV show forever,
Which one?
the Showtime show.
Oh, is that like the God, what was it? I want to almost call it
Yeah,
Shameless.
it's about that important, that about that memorable. That's kind of its legacy. Yeah.
I almost called it Shameless, but that's not what it is. It's the Shameless is the other one with like the guy from The Bear and stuff like that with Jeremy Allen White. But like was
House
it
of Lies?
House of Lies? Isn't that with Kristen? Was Kristen Bell on it? If I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
Are you looking it
Yeah,
up?
yeah. Kristen
Okay.
Bell,
Kristen Bell.
Ben Schwartz.
That's where like does like the gif of the money thing, right? You know what I mean?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, cool. Is it about like the stock market or like or fixers or something? I don't know. You
Again,
couldn't
couldn't tell you.
fucking tell me. Well, he's been in
The
Marvel too, right? Like he's been stuck in
well,
Marvel.
yeah, for sure. I'm looking at just the list of box office for 95, and I'm just running down here. Just some fascinating films. Number 24 highest grossing film of the year, Species.
See, this is what I'm telling you. I told you, I was like, let's go down to 25 just for shits and giggles or 50. And this is what you're doing.
Well, I just want to point this out. You know what? Species, of course, every 12-year-old boy's favorite movie.
Why is that,
Uh,
Jay?
The plot.
What's the plot, Jay?
Alien comes down to Earth. It's basically Under the Skin,
Yeah.
but for teenage boys.
Oh, okay. I've never
Um,
seen Species, by the way.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
All right. I didn't realize you were never a 12-year-old. But Species won right behind Bad Boys
I never
for
had a childhood. I'm sorry,
at 24. And you know what is the 24th highest grossing movie of this year? The Species of 2024.
Of what, our year?
Yeah. The 24th highest grossing film, the slot that was occupied by Species.
Have I seen this movie?
Yeah, it's one of your favorites of the year.
This is Long Legs?
Furiosa.
Oh, Furiosa. Oh, okay.
Species was in that Furiosa slot.
I thought you were being facetious.
No. The other one that I'm just looking at here, Brady Bunch movie, big honking hit.
People love that movie.
I like that movie.
Because it's a spoof.
Yeah, it's fun. That's the most 90s movie ever. Postmodern Brady Bunch.
The spoof is dead, right? Now?
I would say so. What's the last
good spoof?
Obviously, the scary movie, superhero movie, epic movie thing.
The epic movie thing killed it, right?
That's long gone.
Do you count? I wouldn't say the Jump Street movies are spoofs, I guess, but
not really. Not in that way.
Not in that way. I don't know. Like, yeah, they'll come back, right?
I mean, 21 Jump Street is close to what?
Do you think that like the sort of Robot Chicken, Family Guy, television animated shows, kind of Rick and Morty, all that stuff kind of killed all of it?
Well, there has to be so much irony now.
Right?
We're very irony pilled.
No, but I think like a lot of those shows, they just make episodes inspired by a lot of those things. Or
that's true. Community.
Yeah, Community.
Yeah.
It's like, again, television just took the reins of things that we
loved.
And,
I mean, I guess The Love Guru probably killed that genre.
I haven't seen The Love Guru in years. I don't remember it being that bad.
It's so bad. I watched it this year for the first time.
Would you see a new Austin Powers movie?
I would see it.
Do you think it's a good idea?
No. I think the Myers thing, to your point about there not being any spoof movies, I think that is of a bygone era.
Do you think it's just because, like, yeah, well, it's also like,
Well, he did that new show on Netflix. That
Oh,
was that
that's
same
right.
energy. The Pentaveret, is that what it's called?
Sure. And it what? Like just sucked.
It came and went. I don't know. I didn't
What
watch
do
it.
you think of Cheadle in this movie?
He's awesome. He's crackling. I mean, he's absolutely electric in this movie. He's so chaotic and wonderful and brings an energy to this movie that is otherwise very mellow and bubbling.
Hmm.
He throws a match on that the bubbling oil of this movie and sets it on fire. He's explosive. He's so good.
Is he bubbling?
He's beyond bubbling. He's he's crackling.
He's crackling.
Yeah.
I think he's incredible. I think it's also like the movie takes into a second gear because I feel like with Denzel, it is methodical and it's slow in that first pace, and then he comes in there in the second act.
Wonderfully slow. Like it's
Yeah, no, no,
patient.
no. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that in a bad way. I'm just like he's
Yeah.
trying to navigate not only through the mess of the story, and his own survival through it, but also it's an origin story for this character, right? And I think, and that's the great thing that Franklin knows is like this is his first case. His first case, he's gonna stumble through it. He's not gonna be confident. He's gonna probably need to rely on some help, but then by the end, he's gonna look like a damn superhero in the street, just like walking down, like I freaking own this place, man. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? He's like, you just cue up my theme music. I'm ready to go, and but I think that when Cheadle walks into this film, that's when the movie kicks into a second gear and really the plot starts moving so quickly and things get resolved because sometimes you need a fist and sometimes you need a gun to get things moving. And it's like that's what happens for every white character that's in this film, every character that doesn't look like them. A gun or violence or a threat is always what moves them to have to go and be desperate to get to the next step to find the next clue. And so for them to finally be like, no, we are the ones in charge of this, and in this sort of chase, and yet there's also this just like level of weird respect and brotherliness between the two of them. They're just it gave me like the weirdest Holmes and Watson sort of vibes that they got through one another. If one was just like this uncontrollable, violent powder keg, and the other one was a methodical yet scared individual at the run of this assignment. So I think that they're perfect together, and I think that when he gets in, when he gets into the taxi at the end of when Cheeto gets into the taxi and basically like, if you got any, it's nice getting money. If you got another, job, just let me know. I was like, okay, just tell me that I get to put in the next Blu-ray and I get to watch the next film, right? Because like we made 15 of these and cinema was better off for it, right, Jay? Like, right? Like I got
Oh
to see
yeah.
more with these guys because I totally would.
Mm-hmm.
I totally would. And I feel like we would be tackling so many more things that we just don't get to see in this genre. And again, I harken back to the world building, the production design, and being in this neighborhood. We spend a lot of
Yeah, the sense of
time,
community is so good.
like we're spending a lot of time, obviously on the chase.
One guy's just cutting down all the trees in the neighborhood for some reason.
Guy's just got a wheelbarrow and he's like, "Hey, don't go over there." You know what I mean? Like, and when he walks over there to the lady's house, and there's this sense
It
of
doesn't seem like he's charging people.
who the tree guy?
The tree guy.
No, he probably isn't.
That's like a Twin Peaks character.
I think but also isn't that a little bit just about taking care of one's own, right? In a world that won't take care of them, right? Isn't that the case too? Don't you
Certainly a big
think?
part of it. Hmm.
Yeah. So,
I've made an egregious error.
yeah.
What I was looking at was calendar year box office for 95,
Oh
not in-year
no.
releases.
Oh, okay.
So
So
the
did you
list is
make the
definitely
change?
similar,
Okay.
but Toy Story was actually number one, not Batman Forever. Um, then Batman Forever, Apollo 13, Pocahontas, Ace Ventura, GoldenEye. The one that was not in there because it came out very late in the year, Jumanji. That was a
Jumanji.
big old hit.
Wait,
Casper,
GoldenEye?
GoldenEye, number
Oh,
6.
James
Jumanji,
Bond.
Casper, 7 was in the top 10, and then Die Hard with a
Seven
Vengeance.
was in the top 10.
Crimson Tide gets pushed out to number 11.
But you and I have talked about Seven. That's another movie too, where Fincher creates this uniquely modern world, but it feels like it
Well,
feels
there's no
otherworldly. No,
specificity.
there's no
Yeah, it's
specificity
like
to it, but
it's an anonymous location. It's
but
like
it's
a
like if these characters
combination of
but it's like if these characters in Devil in a Blue Dress were set in a modern noir, right?
yeah,
So it feels
it's 90s noir. It's
yeah.
9 Inch Nails.
No, it
It's
is. But like
heads in boxes.
the way that they're dressed specifically and everything, it's
Yes.
very analog. You know what I mean?
It's very much a play on
Yes.
this kind of movie
Yeah.
that is more along the lines of what the zeitgeist called for at that time.
Yes.
And so it was a top 10 movie of the year, and Devil in a Blue Dress. Keep it going down here. Where are we looking at? This was number, I can't even find it. Number 91.
Yeah. Oh wow. Damn.
Yeah, it's tough.
What was 90?
This hurts.
Oh no. Oh
This is gonna
no.
sting.
Oh no. Did I
The
ask it?
the Pauly Shore vehicle Jury Duty was
Oh
one
shit.
spot ahead of Devil in a Blue Dress.
What was 92?
Uh, the Prophecy. I don't know what that is.
Prophecy. Okay. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Jay, is there anything else you'd like to talk about with the film we've talked about some today? In Devil in the Blue Dress?
There's a place on Denzel Washington's Wikipedia for religious beliefs. It's interesting.
Do you want to read those?
No, I do not.
Denzel's very that's the other thing about Denzel. He's very selective in what he likes to speak about, and speak of. Don't you feel?
Yeah, he's not the most public guy in the world, but man, when he does do something public, like he did that thing with Jamie Foxx that one time, just the most charming guy.
Oh, you mean like a sit down interview?
Yeah, just like
Oh, I
just
was
hanging
just
out.
talking about like his
Oh, you
own
mean
views.
being kind of guarded about that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't feel insincere in that regard.
No,
like
he just
some people can feel innocent. Like Will Smith to me feels like very curated to the point where it's like I have no idea who this person actually is. Whereas Denzel, it's like I get a feel for this guy. I just understand that he doesn't want to talk about that stuff, which is the way to do it. So
no, he just seems very old school in the way he thinks. Not like in a bad way, not like saying like get off my lawn sort of way, but he puts a lot of thought into it. Like I remember when he got the AFI award, and he if you ever haven't seen him do a speech, it's usually really incredible. Because it's Denzel Washington. He knows how to just light up a freaking room.
Man can give a speech.
Man can give a speech. He is talking about like like he talked about, he put up a clip of his father-in-law who passed away, and he was talking about it. He said a line like our Twitter tweet mean world that we've created. You know what I mean? And he was talking about just like how we have to do better. And
no,
to
it seems incredibly thoughtful.
It was so thoughtful. I'm butchering it, but it just the way he was able to process it and put it all together. It's just like, damn, dude, like there's nobody else can do it like him. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure. I mean, as for some final thoughts, I think the narration is really good in this film. Again, just that classic noir sensibility. I really like specifically at one point when he says, sort of, to go back to the racial dynamics a little bit, where he just says, "Oh, well, now that a white guy's dead, I really gotta act quickly." A lot of those little jabs, I think, work so well and really add to the racial tension of the entire endeavor. And again, to your point about that community, the neighborhood where he lives feels so idyllic, but there is sort of this undercurrent of, again, nefariousness to it. People were forced to live apart from a lot of the people in that occupy this film as well, that have power over them. And they are free, obviously, as the Sizemore character displays, to just go in there and do whatever they want if they choose to.
It's a
And
place
I
for
think that's a
others.
subtle,
Yeah.
powerful thing.
I think for others, it's a place of peace. And really, everything around them is peace. And the only one that's inviting anything to the outside world of danger is Easy.
Yeah.
And because all the other characters see what's going on with him and they just kind of live their days because they are not interested in getting outside of that bubble because they don't think that that bubble is good, nor do they think it's safe. And
Mhm.
he's willing to go in and out of both, but that leaves a toll. And then if you get into this line of work, then bring your work home with you, and it could be very dangerous for those involved around. So, but then when he's figured out what he wants to do and everything has settled by the end, he's even though he states that he drinks an entire bottle of whiskey to forget everything, he's
Mhm.
finally back at a place where he was before, where it's like
It's a reset. You got to
it's a
reboot.
reset. You got to just reset and reboot. And I think that it's a great final shot, and it's a really damn good movie.
He's
Jay,
also been married for 41 years.
he
How about
has
that? Yeah.
Pauletta Washington,
Yeah.
yeah, who his wife, I believe, is a great stage actress as well too. And I believe that's how they met. Jay, before we get out of here,
Yeah.
we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed in a segment we like to call "It's an Honor to Get Nominated." Devil in a Blue Dress, like you mentioned, the 91st film at the box office that year, but critically well received. Jay, is Devil in a Blue Dress nominated for any Oscars?
It feels like it should have been a layup for things like costumes and production design and things like that, but I'm just going to assume it got nothing.
You're correct, Jay. It did not get anything.
Fascinating.
Sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, does.
Can I interest you in a guess that while Devil in a Blue Dress did not appear pretty much at any on major telecasts for
Mhm.
award season, it did make a surprise nomination at one of the big award season predictors.
Oh man.
It made its way to the Screen Actors Guild Awards.
Okay.
Would you like to guess what it was nominated for there?
I know the one guy who had some juice was Cheadle. I'm gonna guess it was Cheadle.
Don Cheadle was nominated for Outstanding Performance by a Male Actor in a Supporting Role for
Okay.
Devil in a Blue Dress. He was against Kenneth Branagh for Othello,
Okay.
Kevin Bacon in Murder in the First,
Okay.
your guy, Kevin Spacey, The Usual
Oh,
Suspects,
oh my.
and the winner of this was Ed Harris for Apollo 13.
I mean, he rocks in Apollo 13.
Yeah, listen, Apollo
Apollo
13
13's so good.
is a good movie. Like that is a
Ron
good
Howard's
movie.
got a batting average of like 250, but he's got some bangers.
Isn't 250 good?
Nowadays it is, but
If you had a career 250, aren't you getting in the Hall of Fame?
no.
If you had
You better be hitting some bombs.
yeah, probably, right? Or stealing some
I guess he
bases.
was hitting. I guess he was hitting some bombs.
He would
But a batting average for a director,
at this time he had juice.
Howard.
He had
Oh yeah,
goodwill.
he had juice. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
how many years away from an Oscar-winning film, like a Best Picture winner? 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, about 6 years, 5, 6 years, yeah. Because he won for A Beautiful Mind.
Everybody's favorite
Fuck,
Best Picture winner,
one of the stupidest bullshit movies.
starring the star of Virtuosity.
He's he's not. great in that, but it's part of that run for Crow where he
He
was the
was
king of the
he
mountain.
was the guy for a
Yeah.
few years there.
Have you seen that movie in a while?
uh, 5-ish years. I don't think it's terrible.
I don't think it's good.
I think it's like a Ron Howard movie.
You know what is a good Ron Howard movie with Russell Crowe? Cinderella Man.
Yeah, the movie's okay.
I think I would prefer to watch that over A Beautiful Mind.
I agree with you. I think they're both
Because
Ron Howard movies.
Giamatti's fantastic in that movie.
Yeah, Giamatti,
Yeah.
come on now. Big Fat Liar.
Paulie G. Would you nominate this movie anywhere in any of these categories? This was the Braveheart year.
Yeah, I mean, I like this movie more than Braveheart.
El Pastino, Postman. Sense and Sensibility, Ang Lee's version of that. Babe, Apollo
Oh,
13.
we love Babe. We love Apollo 13.
Babe is a Babe 5-star masterpiece. I love that
Banger.
movie. Just one of the, have you shown the kid Babe yet?
No, I don't think he'd get
Probably
that
like
quite yet.
a year or two.
Yeah, probably a couple years away from really getting Babe. Because it's
Man,
not a very,
it's
I
got
don't know what's the
animals.
name I'm looking for, sensory
Yeah, that's true.
film.
But I'll tell
It
you,
might be good, but
yeah. But also, you know, that movie's beautiful. I love that movie.
just looking at
Um,
Ron Howard's filmography here. I mean, truly not that many good movies.
I would throw. Ooh, this is tough.
I like Parenthood.
I'd throw Cheadle in supporting actor.
I'd throw Cheadle in supporting. I mean, I don't have the nominees in front of me, but I think I'd throw Cheadle in supporting. I think I would throw it in for production design as well as costumes. I think cinematography is a
I'm sorry.
distinct possibility.
Sorry, what? Not
Stooms?
costumes, but Stooms. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I was trying to remember what that was the other day. Some weird shortened version of a word that you guys thought was weird, but now I remember. Stooms.
Stooms is the best word that you've ever come up with on this show. Period.
Trying to think what else. I can see it for adapted screenplay,
Yeah.
potentially.
What are the adapted? Let me see the adapted screenplay. Sense and Sensibility, Apollo 13, Babe, Leaving Las Vegas, El Postino. Yeah, we can just kick out El Postino.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'd kick out Tim Roth for Rob Roy. I like Cromwell and Babe. I like Pitt and 12 Monkeys. Spacey's good in Usual Suspects, and Cromwell's good and is very good in Babe.
He's so good in Babe.
So good.
Man, that'll do, pig. That'll do.
I don't know if I put Denzel an actor though, or any of that. But I put
Probably
it in
not.
picture. I put it in picture though. It deserves it.
It's not in my top 5 of that year personally, I don't think. Let's take a look. Why don't we take a look?
Why don't we take a look at Jay's
Why don't we take a
letters?
look? Let's see. Top movies of 1995.
Do you not have a running lists of this already on Letterboxd?
No, I'm just going to sort the year by highest rated.
That makes sense.
Hello, Heat.
Oh, well.
This is a big year. This is my favorite.
7.
Wow, this is crazy. Favorite Michael Mann film, favorite Wong Kar-wai film, favorite Scorsese film, favorite not my favorite Tony Scott film. I switched that to my second favorite Tony Scott film, favorite Ron Howard film. Did I decide that Safe was my favorite Todd Haynes movie?
Isn't 7 here too this year?
7 is here too as well. Yeah, that's not my favorite David Fincher film, but it's 7, so it rules. Maybe my favorite Eastwood movie.
Which one? Oh, Bridges.
Bridges, man.
Oh yeah. Well then, yeah. You're talking me out of it. I don't think it would make it in.
I don't think it would make my Before Sunrise.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe if it was an expanded 10, but it's 5.
I still don't even think it would make my 10. But
oh, that's tough.
It's close. It's close.
We give it enough below the line though.
Yeah.
So
Clueless.
Jay, can you tell everybody out there where they can find you and all your work, and give a recommendation for the folks out there, buddy?
Yeah, recommendation. I'm trying to catch up a little bit on 2024 stuff. I'm way behind. I watched I Saw the TV Glow and I thought it was fantastic. It is
I'm shocked you let.
firmly in my top 5 of the year. What shocks you about that?
I just didn't think a movie like that with the there's some frustrations with the screenplay. I thought that would get you, and I think that it would.
Yeah, but the
I
form,
I
man.
know I know the form's big for you, but also I don't know. I just thought that it would be. I'm not trying to make you sound like an old man here, so don't make this sound. But I thought it would be
Uh-oh.
like, you know. I think it would be for the for the younger kids, and not for the old dad Jay over
Well,
here.
it is firmly
But then I also remember too, it's got a lot of
90s
like,
kid. I
yeah.
mean, it is it
Also, I also felt like too, like I was like, this is also from somebody that's probably watched Twin Peaks a lot.
yeah,
from the
this is Twin
from
Peaks the
that mind.
return core
Yeah.
to its and I mean that as a massive compliment. And I just think it really captures that idea of youthful sadness for reasons you don't really understand. I thought it did a great job with that. And also your relationship with media and occasionally media that's very hard to it's hard to explain what you love about something so much, but it hits you on such a profoundly personal level that it just becomes a part of you in a fascinating way. And then I just think it's so formally ambitious. And I think you could really break that thing down thematically for a very, very long time. And it's weird that our generation is now making movies. Like they're kind of the new guard of filmmaking. And we'll see if that's good or not. But this was a good one. So highly recommend. I think it's my number 2 movie of the year right now. Again, I'm way behind, but it's my number 2 right now.
I really like it a lot. I think it's one of the most fascinating films of the year that I got to talk with people at the time. I feel like you and I will talk about it and its themes potentially at a certain point.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's a really thoughtful film that I do need to see it again, but I remember Jade has the best quality, I think, for any movie. And I think that that's going to really help a lot of my favorite films of the year is which ones stayed in my mind the longest this year,
Oh
which ones I
yeah.
thought about the most, because there's not many that have really jumped out in terms of like, I think they're the greatest thing ever. There's a couple.
It's
But
so singular.
yeah, but it is very singular. It feels like it's wholly unique, which is great too. So, and a really killer soundtrack to go with it too. And I kind of highly recommend enough. Yeah, you can go rent. I Saw the TV Glow and give that a look out there in the world, just like Jay. Did you say all your social media?
Oh, my social media, Letterbox J Ledbetter, Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter, anything I'm writing, Awards Watch. That's what I got.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterbox at Ryan McQuade 77. If you like podcasts, we have one every Monday and occasionally on Tuesdays or Wednesdays as well here on this feed. 5 stars on iTunes, Spotify. While you're on the website, please sign up for the newsletter. It's a great place to get all of our stuff in one place. For a recommendation for me of the week, I'm gonna recommend a movie. It's probably out now or just about to be out in theaters. I think it's one of the best films of the year. Sean Baker's Anora,
Mm,
the Palme d'Or winner. Jay, I've seen this movie multiple times.
getting to see all the festival movies.
Get to see all the festival movies, but it should be by the time of of this release out for everyone to see, including Jay. Jay, I know you're anticipating it very much. Um,
Oh yeah.
I think that it's Sean Baker's most mature film he's made. I think that it's a very hilarious, funny film. Um, Gave me a lot of the vibes of Mikey and Nikki, After Hours, these great films from directors in the 70s that we just love. But also, the second time I watched it, I found the profound sadness, I think, in this sort of small moments that not Glazer, that Baker has in the film. And I think Mikey Madison's performance is it's worth every ounce of praise that it's gotten and then some this year. I think it's a marvelous film. And I think people, he's made a lot of movies about sex workers, but I think that this one's finally the one where it's like, okay, I think you've said everything you needed to say here and then some, and it's a really fascinating critique on excess and just kind of the American dream as it is now. And so for me, Jay, I'd highly recommend it. I can't wait for you to see it. I think you're gonna really like it.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
stoked for it.
I'm usually not the biggest Baker guy,
I loved
but
Red Rocket.
I liked Red Rocket a lot more than I did the Florida Project. I still thought Tangerine was his best work, but now I think Honora might be his best movie he's ever made.
Mm.
I truly do think that. And I was a skeptic going in because I was like, oh, he won the Palm at Cannes. The last time, an American director did that was Terry for Tree of Life. So that's big shoes to fill. It's nowhere near that movie, obviously, but it's a worthy winner.
What is?
And I've been
Rank
thinking,
2.
I high voltage. But I highly recommend everybody go check it out. It's going to be obviously a film that we're going to be talking about all season long, but you guys see a comedy with a crowd, you know what I mean? And that's what's so great about that movie is seeing it with a crowd and this probably the best second act of an entire film all year long. And so yeah, Honora, go check it out.
Can't wait. I'm excited.
Next week, we will be back. We will be already wrapping up our Carl Franklin movie series. We're going to be talking about At a Time, more Denzel. A very wild film to talk about, and I can't wait to talk about it with you, Jay. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.